Hi, I'm Sophia. If you've been following along, you already know.
I talk a lot about waking up at 3 a.m.
Today I want to go a layer deeper, and I want to start with something a little different. I've talked to people who didn't have sleep problems at all, until suddenly they did. One person I spoke with described it exactly that way. No history of sleep trouble. Then a single event changed everything almost overnight. In their case, it took a while to even recognize what was happening, because sleep was just one of many things that had changed. It wasn't until things settled enough to focus that they realized how much the sleep disruption itself was compounding everything else. What I hear most often from people in that situation is that the fix wasn't one single thing. It was a lot of small, consistent habits stacked together over time, protecting a consistent bedtime, paying attention to light exposure in the evening and morning, and giving the body a predictable wind-down signal night after night. None of it was instant. Most people describe it as something that took years to really dial in. I share that because if you're in the messy, frustrating middle of figuring your own sleep out, that's normal.
It's not a sign you're doing it wrong. So let's talk about why it matters enough to keep working on it. Sleep isn't just rest.
While you're asleep, your brain and body are running maintenance, memory consolidation, hormone regulation,
Tissue repair, even clearing out metabolic waste from your brain. When sleep gets interrupted, especially in that middle of the night way a lot of us deal with, that maintenance work gets cut short.
Here's the part that surprises people. It's not just about total hours.
Broken up sleep, the kind where you wake at 3 a.m. and struggle to fall back, can affect you differently than simply going to bed late.
Some of the most restorative stages happen later in your sleep cycles. So if you're interrupting that process regularly, you may be missing out on real repair work, even if your total hours look fine on paper. Let's actually unpack what that means, because I think it helps to understand it, rather than just take my word for it. Sleep moves in cycles, roughly 90 minutes each, and you move through different stages within every single cycle. Early in the night, you get more of the deep, physically restorative stage, the one tied to tissue repair and immune function. Later cycles shift toward more of the stage tied to memory processing and emotional regulation, what a lot of people just call dream sleep.
So if you're consistently waking around 3 a.m. and struggling to fall back, depending on when you went to bed, you may be cutting into those later cycles more than you'd think, the ones doing a lot of the mental and emotional heavy lifting. That's part of why broken sleep can leave you feeling foggy or emotionally raw in a way that's hard to explain to someone who just says, "But you got 7 hours."
Day to day, that tends to show up as this heavy, foggy quality, trouble concentrating, feeling like you're running at maybe 70% instead of 100.
And there's a real connection between sleep and how your body manages stress hormones, which, if you watched my video on cortisol, you already know is part of what's driving that 3 a.m. wake up in the first place. It can turn into a bit of a loop. Poor sleep affects your stress response, and a stressed out nervous system makes sleep harder.
So if you are caught in that loop, what actually breaks it? I get asked this constantly. And the truth is, it is rarely a single dramatic fix. It is usually a stack of small, consistent habits that slowly retrain your nervous system to feel safe enough to stay asleep. One of the most powerful habits is protecting a consistent bedtime. Your body loves predictability. When you go to bed and wake up at roughly the same time every single day, even on weekends, you are sending a clear signal to your internal clock. It sounds boring, but consistency is how you rebuild trust with your sleep drive. Then there is the wind-down routine. A lot of us treat sleep like a light switch. Your brain is not a light switch. It is more like landing an airplane. You need a runway. Giving yourself 30 to 60 minutes of predictable, low-stress activity before bed, whether that is reading, gentle stretching, or just sitting quietly, creates that runway. It tells your nervous system that the work of the day is done, and it is safe to transition into rest. None of this is instant. Most people who have successfully broken the 3 a.m. wake-up pattern describe it as something that took weeks or even months to really dial in.
But the effort compounds over time.
I want to pause and say clearly, one rough night or even a rough week is not a crisis. Your body is resilient. So how do you actually tell the difference between a rough patch and a real pattern? A few things worth paying attention to. Is it happening most nights, not just occasionally? Is it affecting how you function during the day, not just how you feel about it? And has it been going on for more than a few weeks? If you're answering yes to those, that's usually the signal that it's worth addressing directly, rather than waiting for it to resolve on its own. If it's occasional, or clearly tied to something temporary like travel or a stressful week, that's normal life, not a pattern. One more piece that doesn't get talked about enough: light exposure. Your body's internal clock is heavily influenced by light, especially in the morning and evening. Getting natural light, even indirect light through a window earlier in the day helps anchor that internal clock. And on the other end, dimming or managing bright light in the hour or two before bed sends your body a signal that it's time to wind down. It sounds almost too simple to matter, but this is one of the more well-supported low-effort habits out there, and it's free. Alongside the daily habits, this is often where supplements come up in conversation, things like magnesium, glycine, or melatonin. I'm not going to tell you what to take, because that's genuinely a conversation for you and your doctor or pharmacist, not a video. But if you're curious, it's a reasonable thing to bring up at your next appointment, especially if you're already taking other medications where interactions matter.
So where does that leave us? I think the honest takeaway is this. The occasional 3 a.m. wake-up isn't something to lose sleep over. Pun intended.
But if it's become a nightly pattern, it's worth taking seriously, not just pushing through.
That's exactly why I keep coming back to this 3 a.m. window specifically. It's not random. There's a real chain of biology behind it.
And understanding that chain is the first step to working with your body instead of against it. If you're not sure what a realistic sleep schedule even looks like for your life right now, that's actually exactly why we built the free calculator linked below. It's a quick way to see what consistent sleep and wake windows could look like for you. Based on those 90-minute cycles I mentioned earlier, rather than just guessing.
If you haven't seen the video on why your brain runs this loop at 3 a.m. in the first place, that's linked right here too.
I'd love to know where you're at. Is this something that happens occasionally for you, or has it become a nightly thing?
Tell me in the comments. I read every single one.
I hope this helps you find the rest you deserve. Sleep well.